Greg, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, and you're not alone.
No,
that's a first, I think.
Yes, this is our first interview.
Yeah, in studio.
In studio, in fact. Yes.
So we've got Cory Bergman. Is that correct, Cory?
That's right.
Awesome. So maybe, Greg, you can kind of take over from here a little bit and just explain why Cory is with you.
Yeah, so we were at that trade show.
Yeah, the Youth Expo a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and I just walked around a bit because my legs are sore. And I saw this guy with these cool-looking beehives that he was selling. Mm-hmm. And so I started talking to him because I've always wanted to have a beehive because I like honey. Yeah, and I've got lots of things that flower. So I just got talking to him. He seemed like an interesting sort of guy, and also just very knowledgeable about bees and their relationship with growing things, mm-hmm. The environment in general. So I asked him if he'd want to do an interview in the show because I think the information is very useful to gardeners. So he said yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
So with that.
Great. So Cory, I guess, maybe just give a little intro, tell us a little bit about your business, and then we'll work into some questions that Greg and I can throw at you.
Sure. So I grew up as a country boy, working on farms, and always wanted to have a farm myself, but I lived in the city. And so I had to find a creature that I could raise and enjoy. And so through my research, I found honeybees as an agricultural option that I could do in an urban setting. I did some research on the different hives. The Langstroth hive is the familiar hive that you see at most fields and that we use here in Nova Scotia to pollinate our blueberries.
What do they look like?
They're just a square box hive, and then the beekeepers keep adding boxes.
They look like Xerox boxes stacked on top.
That's all they are, just a square box. The problem with those hives is they're very commercialized, so they cost a lot of money, and then also to extract your honey costs a lot of money as well. So through my research, I found out a hive that was designed here in Canada, in Guelph, Ontario, and the aspect of the hive was designed for third world countries. So no matter where you are in the world, you can build this hive out of different materials, whether you have wood, plastic, whether you weave it out of baskets, mm-hmm. or you make it out of sticks. But here I build mine out of pine. They look like a manger that you might see, out in front of a church at Christmas time. And so it has legs. It's up off
multifunctional, just in case there's a macular consumption near you.
So you just lay sticks across the top of this box, and the bees will draw their natural honeycomb off the top. And then when time comes for honey harvest, you don't need any fancy extractors or anything like that. Wow. The hives are a simple design. You can get plans off the internet, and you can build the hives yourself. So it's kind of a self-sustaining way. So I started out with 2 hives, and then went to 10 hives, and now I'm up to 30 hives. Wow. The big thing with these hives is there's no one that sells the bees that have drawn honeycomb. So I had to start with the commercialized Langstroth frames and then convert them into top bar frames. So then that's how my company got born, is I wanted to mentor and share top bar beekeeping with urban beekeepers and country beekeepers. Mm-hmm. And people in the city can enjoy beekeeping without breaking the bank.
That's what, now I remember now. That's why I wanted to do the interview when I think about it now. It's because your approach to it was so simplified and doable, because we talk about permaculture gardening here, and it's just so much more elegant, so much less time and energy goes into achieving the yield. Everything seems to fit in a way that minimizes your effort, and your way of keeping bees just seems so simple.
Yep.
And so easy, and it's the way I'd do it. If I had bees, that's how I'd do it.
Exactly.
My wife would let me get bees.
She doesn't have to know.
Yes, I suppose. Yeah.
She doesn't. She doesn't listen to this show, so
no. You should get the camouflage.
So another aspect about the top bar hive that, you're just speaking about your wife, most women enjoy it because there's no heavy lifting. And then seniors, that want to keep bees but are scared of hurting their back or having to lift the 60 to 80 pound boxes of a Langstroth hive. The top bar hive is 3 feet high, and so it's the same as your kitchen counter. And the most weight you'd ever have to lift would be 1 bar of honey that might weigh 7 to 10 pounds. And you just cut it off into your bucket and get the yield of your honey. So it's a practical way that children, ladies and seniors are able to keep bees without too much physical labor as well. So that's another benefit of this simple aspect of top bar beekeeping.
Cory, I'm assuming you've probably got a website up, or do you do most of your marketing on Facebook?
Yeah, I just started up a Facebook page. Mm-hmm. This is my first year in business, I guess, helping out other people that are interested in keeping bees.
Right.
But I've been keeping bees myself for 3 years. Okay. And so now I got a little bit of a grip on it. Beekeeping always has a strong learning curve, and they're such a fascinating creature that's one of the joys of beekeeping is the knowledge and getting to watch nature and being one with nature is kind of a great hobby to have. Nice.
We'll put a link. Basically, as you're listening to this, if you want to check out his Facebook page, you can just go to maritimegardening.com/bees, BEES, and we'll link it to Cory's page. So anyway, go ahead, Greg.
Well, that was the neat thing when I took a trip out to, what do you call it, a bee farm?
Yeah, it's an apiary is the word, yeah. And I call it a bee farm or a bee yard.
They should call it a bee area. Apiary.
Apiary, yeah.
Okay. So I took a little trip out there earlier in the week, just to kind of neat having bees all over the place and all around you, a little unnerving. But you get, actually, to tell you the truth, within a very short amount of time, you get totally used to it, especially having Cory around because he's not phased by anything. So I'm sort of like rubbing my hands around my neck. And
yeah, that's not for me, I don't think.
But anyway, the neat thing was that I couldn't believe how much knowledge, if you're a curious person who just loves to learn about everything, it's the right thing for you, because it's just like gardening. There's a minimum amount you need to learn to have any success, but then there's so much more you need to learn to be good at it. And also, I imagine as you were expanding the whole thing,
yes,
like when you're just splitting a hive and all that sort of stuff.
That's right.
That's fast. That was the most fascinating thing I remember, because it sounds like a pretty dicey operation. We talk about that later if we've got time.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get on with some of these. We just brainstormed the kind of questions that people might want to know if they were thinking of getting into bees, and if this totally goes with permaculture, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you've got things growing, you've got flowers. Why not turn that all into honey? And the bees do all the work. I mean, you've got a bit of work.
A little bit of work.
The way we'll get into this later, but the way he processes the honey is so elegant. It's I always thought making honey out of honeycombs was complicated. The way he does it is so easy. Even I could do it. So when are the harvests? So let's say I set a top bar bee hive up right now. When do I get my honey?
So your honey's going to come at the end of summer when it's nice and warm, and as gardeners, once the flowers put out their nectar. So the bees collect the nectar. They bring it in, and they keep the hive a certain temperature inside, and they do that by fanning their wings, and it evaporates the water out of the nectar, and turns it into a sweet honey that thickens it up. And then once it cures, they cap it off, saving their stores for winter. And then the excess honey is what we get to harvest. The difference with the top bar hive is because it is just one box. You're not adding boxes on like a Langstroth hive. You're going to do harvests more often. So you're going to take 2 or 3 combs every 2 weeks, through the month of August and September. And you want to make sure that you leave the bees enough honey stores to get through the winter. You don't want to rob your bees.
Right.
Yeah. So you're going to get honey through the summer. And then with the top bar hive, as you harvest your honey, you're also harvesting wax at the same time. So you get 2 products for the price of 1.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Cory, what's the law? Because can anybody just have bees? I mean, obviously, if in a neighborhood like where I am, and probably, I don't know where you are, Greg, but the houses on my street are jammed, one after the other. What are the rules?
So here in Nova Scotia, we have the Industry Bee Act. So it's a provincial legislation that anyone can keep bees, but you have to register with the province. Registration is free. You get a special number that's designated to you. That number has to either be put on your hives or in your bee yard. There is an inspector for the province that can go around and he inspects the bees.
Wow.
And make sure that people are meeting within the laws and of the act. And then just as of last year, 2016, here in Halifax, HRM, they changed the bee laws because bees do have a stinger and they do release a venom. And so they were actually a prohibited insect here in our city. But so many people wanted to keep bees, and with the whole Save the Bees movement and people getting back to nature and the environment, the government recognized that we had to make some changes, that we couldn't prohibit a bee. So here in Halifax,
their infinite wisdom.
Are your venomous snakes, your venomous spiders, and then bees kind of fell into all these prohibited animals that are creatures that you weren't allowed to keep in the city limits. But they recognized that had to change, and there's enough people interested that want to keep bees. So they recognized the Bee Act. So as long as a beekeeper is conforming with the Bee Act, that they're registered, that they're mindful of their neighbors. Really, the Bee Act is just common sense. You want to put your bees in a place that's not going to bother your neighbors. Make sure that the bees aren't going to get bothered either. That they're not in a high traffic area, and that's why urban beekeeping.
Right next to your kids' bouncy castle.
But yeah, most people do rooftop beekeeping, which is kind of neat in urban settings. Yeah, so you can put your bees on top of the roof. It's nice and warm for the bees. They're not disturbed, and they still get the benefits of the urban setting. And what most people don't realize is that urban bees actually do better than rural bees because there's more variety. So down in Annapolis Valley, farming has got commercialized, and so farmers will plant one crop, and your apples, your cranberries, or your blueberries. And then once that plant is out of pollination, the bees no longer have that source of protein. Then most beekeepers move their bees so that the farmer can spray for pests and also mow all the weeds underneath the trees, because they're just trying to harvest the apples or the blueberries, and they don't want the other plant life that's around.
The bees need the weeds.
But the bees need the weeds. So urban bees actually do better. So again, with the top bar beekeeping, it's a great urban way to keep bees. It's a small one box system. No, you don't need any honey huts or anything like that. You can do it all right in the kitchen of your home.
Cool.
I imagine the urban bees also don't have the same predation problems as like if you're next to a forest. There must be more wasps and. Yeah.
So the bees definitely, they don't have the pesticides. There's lots of benefits of keeping bees in the city. So, yeah.
Nice.
So let's say I get a top bar hive. How much work, what's a typical week? Is there a time of the year when I'm doing more than other times of the year and outside of the peak? So what's the peak time of the year like? And also non-peak time, what's my week like in that sense?
Sure. So what happens when you get your beehive? Believe it or not, the bees don't need us. They've been around a long time. They live in the space and they know exactly what to do. But to be a responsible beekeeper, it's important that you want to do your inspections. And when you inspect your hives in the beginning of the year, you're going to put in an organic treatment. Most people have heard of mites. Bees and mites go together, and a mite is kind of like a tick or a leech. It's a blood-sucking pest.
Lovely.
That lives inside your beehive.
How does that help them?
And it doesn't help them. So what's important is that you do treat your bees to make sure that the mite load, the amount of mites inside your beehive, don't overtake or overpower your bees. So at the beginning of the year, all it is just a plastic strip that has a medication on it. You put that in your hive for 40 days. And then as the season progresses, all you're doing is just looking through your combs, making sure your queen is nice and healthy, that she's laying a nice pattern, that your bees are hauling in pollen. If we have a late spring or a wet spring and the pollen doesn't come, you might give them a pollen substitute, which is just a patty that you would put inside your hive just to get them good and healthy and strong. And then through the summer and into the fall, it's just going to be 20 minutes every 2 weeks. And if you open your hive up too much, or you bother with them too much, they don't like to be bothered, and then they'll abscond. They'll fly out of the hive. The most amount of work and the biggest thing you got to watch for is in May. Bees have the natural impulse to spread their genetics. They want to swarm, and so you hear about a swarm of bees. So usually you build a second hive, or you buy another hive, and you can take half of your bees, put them in your new hive, and then the old hive will realize that they don't have a queen, and they'll rear a new queen. And so, yeah, that's probably the most amount of work. It's just in the spring of the year, May, you're going to split your hive in two.
That's what you were telling me about your thing. Yeah.
And then if
this weird thing looks like a giant birdhouse.
Yeah, so you can also catch swarms of bees as well. So if you get other lazy beekeepers that aren't inspecting their hives, and their hive swarms, you can catch a set of bees as well, a colony of bees, and that's kind of a fun experience.
You should send us a link so we can put it up for the listeners. I'm sure there must be YouTube videos of people doing this.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, send us a link to that.
Yeah,
a good one.
Yeah, you'll see.
That's something that I don't know if I'd have the guts to do it. I saw it on a reality show.
Yeah.
A couple doing this. These two hippies, and I was like, that looks terrifying.
Well, actually, where the bees don't have a home, and they're out looking for a home, what they do is they'll usually hang on a branch or the eave of a house, and they don't even have the impulse to sting because they have no honey stores and they have no young to protect. So they really, when they're swarming, they don't even have the instinct to sting. So you don't really need to be afraid of the swarm of bees at that time. And then people that are catching a swarm of bees, if they're hanging from a limb, they'll just get a cardboard box, just a filing box, and they'll open the box up and they'll cut the limb and they'll just lower the limb down into the box. And as long as the queen is in the center of the colony, the bees won't leave her. And once they're in a nice enclosed area, they'll stay there and they'll inhabit that as their new home. And you can take that cardboard box and take it to your bee yard and install them into a hive. But yeah, no, it's kind of a fun, exhilarating experience.
It must be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And then you're
going to do that.
Oh yeah, bees are worth a lot of money, so you just don't want to let them go either. Yeah, like a colony of bees, is valued at $250. So when you see, so one, you don't want to lose your swarm, and then two, if you find one, you want to call a beekeeper, and you can go on Kijiji. There's lots of beekeepers that are grateful for people reporting swarms to them.
Wow, interesting. So how do you process the honey?
So with the top bar hive, like I said, the great part is you can do it just in the kitchen of your home. So when you're out in your bee yard, you're going to lift off the bar that's on the top of your box, and the bees will have a honeycomb hanging from that bar. I use a bread knife from the dollar store because, again, I try to keep things as simple and as inexpensive as I can. And I cut that honeycomb into a bucket. After I sweep the bees off. So I leave the bees in the hive and I just cut the honeycomb into the bucket. I put my cover on the bucket and I head home to my kitchen. And then in my kitchen I have a 10-liter ice cream bucket, the same ice cream bucket that you might see at the the church or the ice cream shop at your local ice cream place. And I use a paint strainer. And I take my bread knife and I chop and I smash up that honeycomb, or I use my potato masher. And then I pour the mixture, that would be wax and honey, into the paint strainer that's hanging inside this ice cream bucket. With the heat of August and in your kitchen, the honey will drip through that mesh so that you just get honey in the bucket, and then in the mesh is all your wax. It'll be nice, clean white wax in the top. Then you can take out that wax and you can make your lip balms, you can make candles, you can make soap, beard balm, different cosmetic products. Everything comes from beeswax.
You have a beard. Do you use your own beard balm?
I do use my own beard balm. Yeah. So
you guys are two peas in a pod.
Recently, a friend of mine, he's making a product for the paws of his dog. So in the wintertime with the salt and things like that, he can put a wax coating on the paws of his dog, and he also uses it on his surfboard as well. So it's kind of neat. You just don't get honey from the bees. There's actually a lot of practical applications. And then of course the honey that dripped out of your honeycomb, it's unprocessed, raw, natural honey. And so, yeah, it's ready to eat right just like that. There's no more work involved. You just pour it into your bottles.
That's awesome.
That's it. Yep. You just strain it and get rid of the wax, and it's just pure honey. You don't have to do anything to it. It's just that easy.
The side question related to that, in the store you can get the honey that you can kind of see through, and then there's that creamy kind. I like the creamy kind because you can put it on your toast like a 1/4 inch thick.
That's right.
How do you make that creamy kind? Can you make that with?
Yeah. So raw honey itself will go hard. And that's how you can tell if it's pasteurized or unpasteurized. So to pasteurize honey, they heat it up to a certain temperature so that it doesn't crystallize. The problem with that is it kills the natural enzymes inside the honey and some of the health benefits that come from honey. So you do want unpasteurized natural honey if you're concerned about the health benefits. But yeah, your honey in your cupboard over time will crystallize and go hard. If you do want to loosen that up so that you can pour it over cereal or pour it in your tea or, so that it looks good on your kitchen table in the morning, all you do is just put it in a bowl of hot water, and that'll warm the honey up enough without killing the enzymes just to get rid of the crystallization.
Mm-hmm.
But, sorry, I'm talking about the creamed kind.
Yeah, so from honey as well, you can cream it as well.
Does that have wax in it or something? Or?
No, it's not wax. You just mix it. You just mix it with other products, like with a butter and things like that. So yeah, you do additives to it to make different products with the honey.
Not for Greg, no butter.
Favorite kind.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, that's good stuff. I've had it myself.
Put it on so thick.
Yeah. I guess I asked that one, so you can do the next one, Greg. I guess we're down on number 7.
All right. So you mentioned earlier that part of the reason that there was interest in this, a growing amount of interest among people, is that there was a concern that the bee populations were in some sort of danger. I remember hearing about that on the news. So what's the current state of the bee population, not just in Nova Scotia, but let's say in North America?
Yes.
We got listeners all... I was going to mention too, like Cory was talking about the legality. So some of our listeners aren't in Nova Scotia; they're in Ontario or other parts of Canada, or even United States and around the world.
Yeah, believe it or not.
So I guess those people would have to check their local.
Yes.
I guess every province in Canada must have a. Did you call it a bee act?
A bee act.
There's a bee act.
Yeah. So legislation or laws around bees. But yeah, every state and every province would definitely, bees are heavily.
Regulated.
Regulated, just again, to save the bee population. So to get to your question in relation to the population, the whole Save the Bees campaign, or trying to help the honeybee population, started back in World War II. So what happened as men were returning back to North America from the war, we learned a lot about chemical warfare and different pesticides and things like that were developed. And so farming, they kind of stopped the diversity that were on farms, and they kind of commercialized it. So again, just acres of one crop. And so because of that crop, and because of the heavy industry of farming and trying to produce, and you guys can appreciate this as gardeners, bigger, healthier fruits and vegetables, they used a lot of pesticides, commercial farming. And so that kind of took out the variety for the bees. And so the population and the health of the honeybee kind of declined. Luckily enough, over the years, now, currently in 2017, we have more bees in North America than we've ever had. And just here in our home province, we have more beekeepers than we've ever had, and more bee colonies. So the campaign that's been going on for 60 plus years, our bees are strong. It is important, though, that we still protect our bees, that we still guard our bees. Because Einstein said himself, in 4 years without the honeybees, the human race would be gone. And so as gardeners, if you do your research, without pollination, our fruits and vegetables would leave our table, and without a lot of the crops and the grasslands, we would lose our meat, our cattle, things like that, wouldn't have the nutrition that they need as well. So we're pretty vulnerable, and we do have a relationship with the honeybee that we have to maintain them and protect them.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that Yeah, because I still see people on Facebook and whatnot sharing stories about saving the bees and all that. So the good news is that they're in pretty good shape right now. Is that what I take away?
We saved them.
Yeah, they're in great shape, and humanity has certainly recognized the vulnerability of the honeybee.
Yeah.
And governments have provided funding, universities have provided education, and then different societies and communities have grown. There's lots of mentorship. So people that are interested in becoming a beekeeper, you can look up the laws, you can register with the province, you can go to your local university, get educated. And then there's also associations that you can join as well that bring in guest speakers, and just beekeepers can meet and talk and mentor each other.
Interesting. Well, that's good to hear. So something else is coming to mind. I'm assuming bees are a lot like people, and there's always a crazy one in the bunch. So, I'm sure you're bound to get stung once in a while if you're doing this. Is that not true?
You do get stung when you keep bees, because you're in there robbing them.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the majority of the bees in the beehive are actually female. So they're very protective. They have that protective instinct.
Yeah.
The male bees, they're called drones. They can't sting. And a honeybee female can only sting you once. So after she stings, she dies.
I've been stung by a lot of females.
I was assuming there was a joke coming sooner or later. Yeah. So only the females sting, and after they sting, they die.
That's correct. Yep. But actually, the beehive is actually called is called nature's medicine cabinet. So there's a lot of benefits, not even nutrition value, but medical applications for bees. And bee stings are actually used as a treatment for a lot of illnesses.
For feeling good?
For stroke victims and
really?
People that
to wake them up.
To get their senses and get the brain flowing back again and things like that. So
Wow.
there's a whole science behind bee stings and helping people that need it. And then honey is also used not in North America so much, but throughout the world as medicine. So, for example, you can put it on a burn. Honey is one of the best things that you can put on a burn, and other people with skin conditions use honey as well. So it's used in a lot of the cosmetics.
Can you put honey on a bee sting?
I think it would make you feel better. So
yeah, I would think. I mean, that would just make sense. It's right there anyway.
Yeah, but the biggest thing that gives the honeybees the impulse to sting is when you do your inspections, you're changing the temperature of their hive, and that's what they don't like. It's not necessarily the fact that you're robbing the honey, but the fact that you're opening their hive. And so it's just an instinct to protect themselves. So what beekeepers do, one is they wear protective clothing. So you're going to wear gloves and your bee jacket. And again, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, a mosquito net or a mosquito jacket from the dollar store, that works just as well.
Really?
And just a pair of rubber latex gloves. They're great protection for your hands, and you still get the dexterity while you're in the hive. And then always with beekeeping, people think of smoke. So beekeepers will carry a smoker, and what that does is when the bees give off a pheromone, an alarm system to let the other bees know that the hive's been opened or the hive's under attack, the smoke actually masks that smell. And so the bees, they don't, I guess they still notice you, but they don't have that impulse to sting you as much. It also makes the bees think that their hive is on fire, and so they want to start drinking their honey, and so they're more concerned with protecting their honey stores than they are the beekeeper. So there are things you could do to prevent being stung.
So, Greg, this is not an excuse to get a hazmat suit and start smoking again.
Exactly. No, that was interesting, because I remember I was asking you, wouldn't you want to just, take the things out of the hive at night when they're all asleep? That's my thinking, because, I don't know anything about bees, and you were saying that's the worst thing you can do. Number one, they're all in the hive. During the day,
that's right. Yeah.
And also they're mad as hell because they've got a certain kind of temperature in there, and at night you open the thing up, it's really cold, and they're going nuts.
Yes, when you do your inspections, you want to do it in the best heat of the day. So, usually around dinner time, midday, afternoon. You want to open up your hive, because half of the bees are out foraging, and then they're not worried so much about you cooling off their baby bees.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
It is.
So, we had a couple other little questions here. How do the flowers affect the flavor? Does it, like, I remember when I go to the grocery store, I'll say pure clover honey. And that's where I don't even know how they control that, because it's not like they tell the bees, okay, now go get the clover. But, what's that all about?
Yeah, so, different flowers give off different nectars that have different flavors. So, you have your apple orchards, you got your blueberries, and you got your clover. Those are kind of the popular things here in our province. And so, they do have a certain pollen, a certain scent, and a certain nectar. And so, that taste will come out in your honey. You can also buy other flavored honeys that have been infused, with certain things like cinnamon or maple. They can add to the honey as well. But there's a neat program that was on Netflix, and it talked about the whole relationship between flowers and bees and how flowers actually give off an electronic charge to signal the bees to tell them that they're ready. And the reason the flowers do that is because the bees actually help the flowers inseminate each other, because they have the X and Y chromosome that need to be passed from flower to flower.
That's right.
And that's what the bee does. So it's really neat how
nature's fluffer.
Yeah, there's a definitely relationship between the bees and the flowers that's, again, a whole other science and a whole other fascination way beyond beekeeping. But yeah, the flowers actually need the bees, and so that's why if you are a beekeeper, you're fascinated with your garden, and if you're a gardener, you're fascinated with the bees. And so I guess that's why we're here today,
exactly.
Sharing this interview and sharing this information. So the listeners that are gardeners, help us out with our honeybees, and the beekeepers, we thank the gardeners for all you guys do.
Yes.
Awesome.
So today, now this is about bumblebees, not about, honeybees. So I don't know how much you know about bumblebees.
There's actually 260 varieties of bees. So a honeybee is just one out of the 260.
You know a lot about all of them?
not about all of them, but I know a little bit about each.
Okay. So today I was working in a garden, and I just started digging into the ground, and I heard the ground started humming. I mean, an area of ground, let's say 2 feet by 4 feet, the ground was humming. Like I thought I'd hit a wire, like a huge power wire or something.
Huh.
And I started working in a different spot a couple feet away, and then all of a sudden the noise got louder and louder, and before I knew it, there was bumblebees everywhere on the ground, buzzing and flapping their wings and rubbing their face. And I was, the hair, like even the hair on the back of my neck was up. I was like, what in the hell is, there was probably at any one time 15 bumblebees. This is all in one place. I thought they were solitary, and I thought they'd just go find a hole, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. And one by one, they all, after they buzzed for about a minute or two, and then one by one they flew away. And I thought they were coming for me. They did leave me alone. But did you have any idea what was going on there?
No, it's the time of year the bumblebees be waking up. The bumblebees do live underground. They don't have a nest, or they don't inhabit a cavity. So
why was there so many in one place?
Just a good piece of ground, I guess.
I think it was on a south-facing rock wall, so I think it must have been abnormally warm and
warm, good spot to help them get through the winter and things like that. So if you want to know the difference between bumblebees, your wasps, and your honeybees, so your bumblebees are usually under your deck. They live in the ground in a hole. Your wasps, they're the ones that build their own paper hive, so you'll see it on the side of your garage or inside your shed. So they build their own paper hive. And then a honeybee, they go inside a hollow cavity. So just like when we used to watch Winnie the Pooh, they were always inside a hollow log. So next time you see some bees around and you're not sure if it's a bumblebee, a honeybee, or a wasp, before you spray them, just kind of assess the situation. Are they living underground? Are they living in a paper mesh hive? Or are they in the eaves of the house building honeycomb?
What about a hornet? What's a hornet?
Yeah, so a hornet and a wasp are a similar type of a bee.
But hornets will live in the ground.
They can live in the ground as well, yeah. So they still build paper underground. Oh. And then the old wise tale was the higher the wasp nest, the more snow you were going to get. I don't know how that worked for the Americans in Texas, but here in Canada, that was an old wise tale.
So it's not, there is no if you see a wasp nest that's like 30 feet high, that doesn't mean anything.
It's going to mean we're going to get a lot of snow.
It does. It's more than a wives' tale.
They always say if there's
red sky by night sort of thing.
Yeah, the higher the hive, the more more snow we're going to have through the winter.
How the hell would they know that?
Oh, they don't want to get buried, I guess.
Yeah. Amazes me. Like certain animals just know stuff.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
This has been just awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your time today, and hope to get more people interested in beekeeping, and then more people interested in the gardens and the flowers that are coming out in the seasons.
If you want to build, or if you want to buy an already made Top Bar beehive, you can check out Cory's. What's your Facebook page called? So my Facebook page is Top Bar Honeybee Co. And I'd be happy to help anyone that's interested in acquiring a hive or a colony of bees. Or again, just there's lots of information on my Facebook page of YouTube videos, great books that have brought me along this far, and also the Bee Act and how to register. Everything's on there for our province, and then the similar thing for other states and provinces through North America.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely have a link to your Facebook page in our show notes. And again, we'll make it easy for people. If you're just listening, you can just go to maritimegardening.com/bees, BEES. And thanks, Cory. That was really. I'm not a big fan of insects, believe it or not. I mean, I'm a fishing guide and I love being outside, but I'm not a big fan of insects. But I appreciate what the bees do, and I love honey. So this is really cool.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So that was really cool. We thank Cory Bergman with Top Bar Honeybee Co. for being a part of today's episode and our first actual in-studio guest. So that was really cool. Again, this was episode 35. We're trucking along. So you can find it at maritimegardening.com/035.